and Perks gets the counter pick, which I think is really important for him.
Yeah, I think also Olaf. I don't actually think Schalke wants to play Olaf on their side. We're going to have to see if Amazing can prove me wrong, but that was another one of the first picks we saw yesterday. G2 should just ban exactly the same. It was Skarner coming in as the last ban. The 3 main picks to get rid of, well, Kaiser, Braum, and Skarner.
If we get the Urgot ban, quick shot, these are the bans we were talking about coming into these series. 3 of the big picks that Schalke kind of need to respect going up against G2. Now, in terms of an Olaf
again, man.
So
they don't want to first pick it, and they don't want to deal with Jankos on Olaf.
Interesting. That's really surprising.
In game 1, Schalke banned the Urgot.
Is
its first pick,
play
and it is
okay.
done.
Okay.
The bluff has been called, Officio. Are you surprised by this?
I always look at Schalke and say it's pure tank top laners, and I'm not sure if Nukeduck can play it mid, but at this point, Urgot is a tank, so it actually still makes a bit of sense.
To me, if anyone's going to play it, it will be Nukeduck. That flexibility of the champion. You talked about it earlier in Ready Check, Officio. I think that's what offers its biggest value right now. So we'll see where it goes later on in the draft. G2 get themselves another comfort bot lane in the Tahm Kench Varus, and I think this is already a strong 2v2 for G2.
Yeah, I always feel like as a team, when you face G2, you're going to struggle a bit in the game if you're losing against their bottom lane in laning phase. And with things like Tahm Kench, once again returning, G2 can draft really strong lanes when it's available. And it is available in these drafts here because they don't have enough bans to get rid of everything they want. But it's Xayah Rakan coming in against it.
And Vander has played Rakan twice this split. It didn't go well. He's 0-2 on the champion, but I like the fact that we've seen Varus and Xayah coming out of upsets.
It's definitely going to be a little bit different. It's not a lane that will win 2v2 on its own, but it's a lane you can gank very easily. It's a lane you can play around. The Varus plus Tahm Kench is still insanely good when it comes to just pure laning.
Yeah, and we'll see how things play out. And the jungle picks will be very important. And remember that a couple of jungle bans already being thrown out. Last time around, G2 invested a lot into limiting Amazing's jungle pool. They're again going to take away the Jarvan. And you would imagine that G2 have their eyes set on something like the Sejuani, but with the shift in bans from Schalke, they're kind of implying that they do want to go for the Rise again, given that it is still a big power pick for Nukeduck.
I think Gragas could also be one of them against Varus, Tahm Kench specifically, but Wonder is most likely playing this Sion.
Yes.
And when he did it yesterday, G2 really lost a lot of punch. Like, it was just a perk show all of a sudden, and no one else could actually back him up as a carry, because we know Yanan is typically more focused on utility. Sion, however, is one of the matchups against Urgot that you can play top lane, where you can actually go toe-to-toe with him, and if you have a jungler with you, you can actually kill him. So that's why he's going for Sion here and not a carry pick on his own.
I wonder if G2 now look to lock in the Rise themselves, put it in Perks' hands, and then give Jankos the counter pick, perhaps trying to get something a little bit more focused in terms of early game power.
You do get what you want here, Vedius. Nukeduck on his side can play absolutely everything. We've seen Maltahar picked against Rise quite a few times when it's the blind pick Rise already. We know Nukeduck could grab it for himself. Vel'Koz has also been one of the champs he's favored, and long range typically is an answer also to Rise.
So
it's the Gragas. Just give me the Gragas.
I'm gonna say that Schalke lock in Cho'Gath now, and they put the Urgot into the Rise. That's kind of what my expectation is, and a lot of the damage dealing is going to be reliant on upset, and then Schalke are going to look to play through bot lane, get their lead there, and then rely on their stronger 2v2 to kind of snowball the game.
You get a Maokai instead, but you are correct about Chachi not playing the Urgot for himself up in the top lane. It is going to go mid. Man, it's a massive Bruiser comp from Schalke, and then 180 carry sitting behind. And I think G2, there's a Puppet Jungle on their side, trying to look at all the different ways that a Rakan and a Gragas can try and engage.
Yeah, I think it's such a good pick into the Rakan. When you think about all the different dashes and mobility tools that he has, Poppy can just be a real nuisance at mitigating his engage potential, especially with the dashes on the Gragas as well.
And I think last game, G2 got a very standard comfort comp for themselves with Aatrox top lane, you know, Ashe, Tahm Kench bottom side.
Yep.
It was like really good for their style. I think this one is going to be harder for them to play just because they don't have that guaranteed winning top lane carry. So it is a lot more around Yanan, especially because Rise in late game teamfights, a lot of his damage actually gets blocked by tanks in the front.
It's true.
So you need a super good AD carry if you do go late game.
I do think, though, that in terms of early priority, Wonder will have pressure up towards the top side of the map. You already talked about how Varus Tahm Kench is still a good 2v2, and they should be able to have that early push bot. Mid is a little more favored towards the Urgot, but I still feel like that G2 will have some pressure lanes that they can utilize. The question is if Jankos will look to try and take advantage of some of those pressure lanes and see if he can get early kills again.
Well, Jankos in game 1 found an opportunity in the early game and somewhat outclassed Amazing. Amazing's ganks on that Zac did not step up. It is a very, very different pick and ban, and this Urgot pick is going to be crucial for the remainder of this series. For Schalke, it needs to work. It needs to win. It needs to even up the series at 1-1 because Schalke are trailing to Jankos and G2 Esports 0-1 in the regional qualifier finals. Now, in the previous game, we had a slower start. It was a little bit more laning, trading. Both junglers really got to sort of their ultimates before they started ganking heavily. Can we expect a little bit more of the same with the Gragas and the Poppy? I know Gragas can gank, but likes to get his ulti.
I do feel that based on how Amazing played up against Fnatic in Game 4, we could see a lot more early game action towards the bottom side of the map. Xayah Rakan is a very easy lane to play around. The Predator has been picked up for the Gragas, and I feel like if we are to see early game action, it'll be from the side of Schalke.
I mean, I think if you look at the runes on the junglers, last game we had double Aftershock, which is a lot less focused on perma-ganking. Now we have, as Vedis just highlighted, double Predator. So give them boots and suddenly you can actually see a lot of focus on it. I think especially for Poppy, side lane ganks are just the thing to look for because you need that wall to actually set up a gank. And Chachi in the early game is going to play very aggressive on Maokai. He always tries to win lane on this champion. There is a clear opening to try and go kill him.
Let's see what Chachi can do. He's done that multiple times this split.
I mean, he believes that Maokai is a lane bully, basically. That's probably the only top laner in the world.
Well, if he can make it work, we have to give him a little bit of time.
Of course.
But it's dependent on making it work. Deficio, in Ready Check earlier today, you gave a pretty well-rounded breakdown on Urgot. If anybody wants to know why Urgot is so popular, I know, go check out that full clip. But give us a TLDR of what to expect in this Urgot versus Ryze, because we haven't seen it a huge amount here in Europe.
Yeah, so with Urgot specifically, because you can run Corruption Potion and Time Warp Tonic as one of your runes, your sustain is actually really good in lane, so you can't really get poked out, and you just focus very easily on just pushing. And if Perkz wants to try and trade, Urgot is going to stand in the middle of his minion wave, he's going to try and block a lot of damage with his own minions, and the shield he then gets from his W means that, again, there should be no kill pressure on the side of Perkz, and it just becomes a bit of a farm lane early. Level 6, however, you can actually set up some ganks.
Well, let's see whether or not Nukta can make it work. It is his 20th unique
of course it is.
Champion. We had to put Urgot on the graphic. No champion has been played more than 4 times this split, and he's played 29 games already. So it is an insane champion ocean. And earlier today, Medius, Vedius, and Quickstats broke that down. Wow, I'm actually just advertising Ready Check a lot. Go watch it, it's awesome.
Still the brand yet to come, but later on, still a lot of games left in this series. Now, one thing I did want to add as well, Fisho, to this matchup is the difference in mana costs. For Nukeduck, it actually costs very little mana for him to actually push these waves, and for Perkz, you can see that he's doing what he can, and he has to spend a lot without having his tier completed yet. So that's also one of the big issues that Ryze will have to deal with, and having that teleport will help him a lot in terms of the early laning phase. You'll see a bit of a trade up in the top lane.
Well, there's that bully Maokai. Trying to get the down.
He's losing that fight.
Hey, he needs
slightly. He has a bit more sustain on his side, but look, he has biscuits as well. He's like, I don't care about losing HP. I can just go biscuits and Time Warp Tonic, baby.
It's the grasp of the
Oh, Yank is doing it again, though. He's sitting in this brush, ready to steal the red buff away from Yank. Amazing. He did the exact same thing last game.
This time around, though, mid lane can respond if Nukta can get there quickly enough. Amazing, 200 hit points, 110. Not going to get the flash just yet. Body slams forward, leaves the barrel. Jankos, will he charge for this? He does! Flash hammer shock, but here comes Nukta. A tower shot connects onto Jankos. First blood is available for the taking if Nukta chases, but he doesn't.
Oh, Jankos again trying to be super annoying and catch Amazing at his own red buff. Almost worked. I love the combo into the wall. Tons of damage onto the Gragas. In the end, Amazing just managed to flash away when the charge was not available for Jankos.
And it could have been a kill if Amazing hadn't been able to steal away the red buff and get all that health back in his pocket. Given that you notice the amount of burst coming out from Jankos right here, and there's the smite secure, you can see how much health Amazing's able to get back, and then he can end up... He doesn't quite get the
I think Jankos got the red buff.
Wait, did he?
Jankos got the red buff. Amazing's passive gave him a little bit of HP, I think, but...
I swear he used the smite though. Maybe I missaw it, but... my mistake.
Someone got the red buff, and it was Jankos.
More importantly, Amazing did not concede first blood. So G2, they still have, minor gold advantage. 500 gold by 4 minutes is actually nothing to scoff at yet. But it needs to continue. It needs to continue building and developing. And Jankos, I'm already happy seeing Jankos' activity in the early game, 2 games in a row, and more importantly, consistently 2 days in a row.
Yeah, again, he's a different player compared to the Jankos we saw for most of this split. When he was no longer on Braum duty, it was just such a rough split for this guy.
Yep.
It was only Talia where he managed to succeed in the early game. Everything else, he would just give up so many kills.
Even in that game, he died.
Even in that game, he would do that. But he's returning a bit more to the Jankos we knew from before, and why we got so excited about this G2 lineup when we saw it with Perkz, Jankos, and Wonder as a trio that should be able to win the early game for their team.
So my eyes are on where he could potentially go. Mid is in theory an option, but Fisher already talked about how difficult it is to kill an Urgot. Top lane is another potential option, but it's a Maokai with a Scion. Is there a lot of value in trying to get that Scion ahead? Well, that's debatable. So I feel like what Jankos could do instead is just try and limit Amazing's impact in this game as much as possible. Why try and focus on the lanes when you could just focus on the enemy jungler? When we've already seen that he wins in terms of early trades, he can just look for these invades. He has a decent amount of mobility to escape any serious situation, and as long as there is the map is in an okay state, he can just look to try and deny Amazing as much as possible, and then see if he can limit Amazing's impact, especially towards the bottom side of the map.
Well, Venice, you've already seen that coming true. You know, Jankos in that red buff and then running into Amazing. I don't think Jankos saw Amazing in the top lane when he's moving up for that Scuttle Crab, but he's in the right area of the map at the same time as Amazing, trying to mitigate it. 6 minutes in, no pressure on the lanes yet, and every time we look top, I hear this quote from Vizichachi, delivered through Fisher. The Maokai's a lane bully. He's down.
Wasn't an actual quote from Chachi, it was my quote. I was inside his head.
Down 15 CS, but Vander gets the knock up onto Hyun and is the Devour from what did pulls him to safety, but Amazing sniffing for an opportunity.
Yeah, and as Vedis highlighted, bot side is where you could set up a play here with the Gragas. Otherwise, mid lane now that Urgot has ulti, and because you run Spellbook, you can get Ignite for the laning phase. Perkz cannot do the same, so the actual all-in combo, if you get the ulti off as an Urgot into your Ignite, and then you just start applying a ton of damage while they're slowed down, it normally will kill fairly squishy targets if he lands absolutely everything. So I really feel like mid and bot now will start going Schalke's way in just terms of kill pressure. And top lane, yeah, the Sign can push, but that doesn't really do anything against Schalke unless Wonder can roam with the Sign ult to mid.
But so far in the laning phase, G2 are doing great. They have an advantage in top lane, Wonder on the Scion in this, from my perspective, winning matchup for the Scion.
I mean, definitely is. Definitely is.
But now Nukeduck is roaming up towards the top side. Double Bruiser, can they get through the unkillable War Machine?
Well, we're going to find out. Nukeduck roam bottom was spotted up by some wards as well as Jankos. Now he's roam top. The opportunity is just not presented yet. So Nukeduck is fishing. He's looking for opportunities, and you guys said he can push that wave early and a little bit more effectively with those shotgun knees, and he's using that to great advantage.
Yeah, I don't think he should have gone top necessarily right there. I think instead, like trying to set up a play with your jungler on bottom side, and where there's an Ocean Drake as well, will be a superior play now that he has full mid lane control. Jankos again is sneaking into the jungle. This time Amazing has placed a ward. He will see him. He knows the ward has been placed by Jankos.
Yep, fool me twice, shame on me. But you will not fool me thrice, as he puts the ward down. But there's no red buff to fight over just yet either. Jankos is going to sniff out the dragon, but it's still a 600 gold lead for G2. 12 CS in the top lane. This time around, Chachi's winning a trade. Thank you, observers. I think every time damage lands, the observer team are looking up so we can verify the discussion. Top laners have been ignored a little these playoffs, I feel. The tank v tank duty, the unsung heroes of teams at times.
And seeing as the game's a little slow, not a huge amount of action, I had a couple questions. Hit me up on Twitter. Is a male duck actually called a drake? That is true. They are in fact called drakes. Just wanted to confirm that for everyone.
That came out of nowhere.
We see a bit of a play being set up in bot. Keep your eyes on the mini-map. You can see Jungler coming down as well.
Yes, Chain of Corruption starting to spread. Upset already used the cleanse as well as the Feather Storm Blade Caller. I'm not sure if it's available. Didn't see the cooldown. Vander comes flying back. Now Amazing with an opportunity for a counter gank. Flashes are available on G2. The Keeper's verdict. Poppycopter. Jankos escapes with his life. 4 summoners blown.
Everyone ends up backing away here, but Jankos tried to get in range to actually knock with Vander into the wall, doing his own little dash back towards Upset, but he just couldn't get there in time. Instead, all the flashes blown here sets up suddenly G2 to control bot side.
And again, it's the bot lane that's going in favor of G2 when Schalke, they have this winning 2 versus 2 this time around. They have a lane that they can actively play around it. Amazing, he's just a little too late to get to this bot lane. It was Yanan and Wadid that set this up. It was Jankos that was making his way towards the bot side.
He wants that red buff again.
And now he has his eyes set on the red buff. Can't quite steal it away, but G2 being proactive once again in the early game.
Jankos especially being proactive. Doesn't matter what he's playing at this point. Sejuani, he was invading. Poppy is invading again. Always looking for something, but as we saw down bot lane here, in the pure 2v2, it's just really hard for Vander Upset to actually kill someone because Wadid is on the Tahm Kench, but they swapped to top side.
Do you like the swap, Deficio? Getting out of that lane, knowing there's summoner spell list for now?
I mean, them swapping now forces G2 to do the same because otherwise they lose Rift Health, so I think the swap is actually good on the side of Schalke. Because you can see now it's delaying the rest of the map. If you can check the minimap, you see Yana and Wadid have been running from bot lane all the way to top side here. So it gives a bit of a tempo advantage for Schalke if they want to make a move towards mid and try and kill Perks.
Wadid's getting close to level 6, and that Abyssal Voyage has some additional tools for engage. G2 once again maintaining that lead. Schalke weren't able to claw back the game in game 1, but they do well with deficits. They're in a deficit now. And these next few minutes are going to be so crucial for determining who's going to go into this mid game with the advantage. Schalke cannot afford to concede any more gold or lead or kills, etc. to allow G2 to take the charge.
And today is the final day of the Gauntlet all across the world. The 4 major regions that are playing the Gauntlet, 2 have already concluded. If you haven't seen the games yet, I will not spoil it for you, but they were definitely some exciting games.
SKT made it.
There are still 2 games left to go today in ours and NA's, Cloud9 versus TSM. And these will be the final determining seeds that go towards the 3rd season. They will have to play through the play-ins, except for the LCK. But for G2, that's quite a difference. This is the team that's been the 1st seed representative for the last 2 years for Europe. And to many EU fans, they haven't quite been able to live up to those expectations. But so far in this series, they've looked good.
All right, body slam, explosive cards. Here comes Nukeduck as well. Fear beyond death, please let it connect. Not even going to throw it down, just use the shotgun knees. I so badly want to cast an Urgot ultimate. Nature's Grasp is available for Vizichachi, throws it in the retreat, but G2 are easily able to escape. It will dissuade any follow-up. First blood to Schalke.
And it's a classic support mistake. You want to be a good guy and you want to get a bit of control in the river, but you don't realize that the enemy team has already pushed your mid lane and they can just walk from mid into river and catch you. In the end, Wadid ends up dying for nothing, and now Jankos is in trouble.
Question is, who's really been caught? Keeper's verdict is sidestep.
Jankos been caught.
Throw out the chains, fires it out, and not going to be enough because the barrel takes him down. Nukeduck, 2 assists, amazing, 2 kills. And all of a sudden, Schalke are in the lead.
And that's 2 punishes now going in favor of Schalke. They found that first kill in the river onto Wadid. They find the second onto Jankos, who was just trying to defend a ward. This is the kind of early game that they need to have against G2, because this is the team that showed yesterday, if they don't have control over the early game, if they aren't allowed to play towards their game plan, they make a couple of crucial mistakes that can quickly be capitalized on.
Oh, Perks is moving up to try and stop them now. Wadid, Yana coming in as well. Schalke forced away.
Well, let's find out if a fight breaks out. Schalke are grouped up as 4. Nukeduck is a little bit low. Chain of Corruption starts to spread, and Amazing is shut down. He just donates that. Vander gets the knock up onto Wonder, who teleported in from behind. Vander, flashless, just blown up.
Schalke thought they had a safe Rift Hill, but because Perks won a big trade in the mid lane against Nukeduck, he forced him back to his turret, allowing Perks to walk into the river and suddenly stop Schalke.
Don't go in, don't go in. Chachi and Upset, they're picking a fight with 5. Decimating Smash catches onto 2. Upset throws out the feathers, not going to get the root just yet. Finally finds one. Nukeduck teleported back in. They stand and somehow Chachi and Upset stay alive. I'm sorry for doubting you. They get themselves a second kill.
The mistake there from G2 was not respecting the teleport from Nukeduck. Jankos overcommitted too hard underneath the tower. Wadid couldn't get close enough to consume him and take him to safety, which ended up him losing his life as well. 4-2 now is the kill score in favor of Schalke.
And I don't think anyone picked up the Rift-held eye because we have to fight. Look at this here. Because Perks forced Nukeduck back, he can walk in and actually take the fight here. So even if it's a 3 versus 4, Amazing gets caught out. I think he managed to get it.
Yes.
But then no one can actually pick it up because now they're fighting and Schalke are forced away from the river.
And remember that Vander still didn't have his flash from the earlier play. This is where the initial double kill comes in, and G2 feel confident that they can go for this dive, given that they have 5 members. It's a 5 versus 2. They can just melt through Chachi, but surprisingly healthy on the Maokai. The TP comes in, and now we see another fight.
Well, that replay was brought to you by Yes, Fear Beyond Death! Nuke Duck destroys Wadid. We came out of the replay into a skirmish. Didn't see the setup, but Nuke Duck brings it home. 2-0-3 on that Urgot.
And we kept talking about this in the early game, how once you get the ulti and Urgot here, you can start playing a lot more around him and his fighting ability. And right now, you have 2 kills on Urgot, 3 assists, Black Cleave already completed. He can start stacking tanky stats now, like Righteous Glory is probably going to come in on his side, Stormplate later as well. And then you're going to have this champion that actually deals a ton of damage on squishy targets, but will also be insanely tanky, and that's why falling behind versus Urgot is one of the worst things you can do right now.
Now, one of the bright sides as well is for G2 is that Perkz is 2-0-0 on this rise. He will be a strong split push threat, but Nuke Duck should be able to hold his own once he builds a little bit more magic resist later into the game. We can see Wadid just trying to get a bit of vision for his team. He sees Vander, gets locked up. He still doesn't have the flash available. Amazing comes in as well, but it is not needed. The ulti was there for Nuke Duck, and he secures a quick and easy stack.
I love seeing 9,999. It just takes me back to the old Final Fantasy days. I love that ability so much. Nuke Duck off to a good start. 5 kills to 2. Thing is, Schalke, they are going to lose first tower here in the mid lane. Picks a couple more hits. They are behind in gold, but they've got themselves an Ocean Drake.
And the way back is just use your insane engage to force these fights here. Rakan plus Maokai and Gragas should always guarantee you a fight if you are Schalke. G2 on their side, it's going to be tough for Yanan because he's either going to be in the belly of a Tahm Kench not dealing damage, or he's going to get chased down by 3-4 players. Now he's going to kill Upset.
Well, let's find out. Featherstorm goes out. Upset forced to run for his life, but look at the minimap. The moment Vander showed in the river, G2 Esports backed off. So costs Upset, his ultimate and his cleanse. Nature's Grasp as well as the root comes down. Peacekeeper's Verdict by some time, but look at the chains! Destroyed by Nuke Duck. This will be Schalke's first tower as well, and a flawless gank.
And with Schalke having 4 members mid, they felt more than confident to set up this dive onto the tier 1. They were able to execute Perkz, and Schalke, they only lost a cleanse on Upset.
Oh, they're looking for the bottom lane here. Jan and Wadid, can they maybe use Tahm Kench ult away?
There's not a lot of ultimates on the Schalke side, but look at this body blocking. 3 members of Schalke are coming down. Yeah, Yana, you've been devoured, but you're going to be able to flash to safety. Nicely done. Wadid flashes as well. Are they going to get nobody? Finally, Vander's the man that secures the kill, and Upset gets solo tower gold.
And we said before how with the amount of engage on the side of Schalke, they will always be able to force a fight, and that's what they did in the mid lane. They know this Urgot here will always guarantee them the kills, so they use the Maokai ulti to start it. He can flash in onto Perkz, point and click, very simple, and now you will get kills. It leads to then a bot lane setup with another turret going down, and Schalke right now are really playing around Nuke Duck.
Group and fight, group and fight. That is the name of the game for Schalke right now. They are so far ahead, 17 minutes into the game. The goal difference doesn't look like it, but the amount of pressure that Schalke are able to generate, the amount of power that they have on the back of Nuke Duck is what will enable them to continue to press this advantage forward.
Yeah, because it's actually important to highlight where is the goal difference if you look at champions. Most of it is on Wonder, who's a tank. He's like 1,300 gold ahead of Sachachi. But it doesn't matter for the rest of Schalke. They don't care about Sion being ahead in this game. They only care about Perkz and Jan and how much damage they can deal.
And note that the gold is even, slightly in favor of Perkz in the mid lane. And you'd think that this is pretty good, but when you think about the 2 champions that when they group up together with this giant bruiser comp that Schalke have, and with their ability to just dive onto the low mobility carries of G2, you're just looking at these fights constantly going in the favor of Schalke.
Jankos caught a little bit out, forced to flash. That's at least an advantage to Schalke, who are continuing to apply pressure on G2. And it's just an exciting turn in the series. That Urgot was banned by Schalke game 1, first picked in game 2, and they are utilizing in the mid game perfectly.
And now we're getting this kind of same scenario we got yesterday, where in half the games, G2 would have 2 super strong solo laners that could get ahead and they could play 1-3-1 and they would look so clean. Now they have the tank top laner, so they're not able to set up the 1-3-1 at all, also with the amount of engage on the side of Schalke, and you get the G2 who's forced to team fight their way back in the game, and that is not how they normally win games. So you get a huge difference in how they actually perform. A lot of it is based around solo laners and how well they do early.
And to Fisher and Picks and Bans, I recall you saying something along the lines that G2's team composition will be harder to execute this time round from sort of game 1. Now the game is at a mostly even state, but momentum is with Schalke. It feels like they're a little bit ahead in control. Does that make it even more difficult for G2?
I mean, 100%. Wonder is obviously winning his lane, so he's trying his very best, but he's not on the same kind of carry that can just hard win you the fight or hard win you the side lane. So he's gonna have to group with his team eventually, and that's where the Schalke brute force combination with insane bruisers and now a crit 80 carry should be superior.
Because ideally G2 with their comp would like to split apart the map, utilize the strength of Arise in a side lane, rely on the fact that you do have two more reliable damage dealers in the Rise and the Varus to kind of out DPS later on into the game. But the problem that they're having right now is...
Oh man, did everything miss? Realm Warp, Chain of Corruption, as well as the unstoppable Onslaught. Now they did get a Feather Storm out of Upset. He's sitting on that Storm Razor and nearly got that second item completed. But of course, just to put some numbers to those damage dealers in the leads, plus 45 CS for Wonder, whereas Upset is currently up 20 CS in the bot lane, and Schalke looks like they're gonna go fishing, trying to get some damage. Remember that percentage HP damage from Urgot destroys tanks. Wonder melted through like a hot knife through butter, and Schalke are not done with the CGS.
So you can see that G2 tried to force a fight with a numbers advantage in mid, but they couldn't quite pull off the execution due to Upset's ability to self-peel thanks to the ulti. Now when Schalke group up, they are, by words, they are so much stronger in the 5 versus 5, and G2, they're forced to disengage thanks to all the engage tools that Schalke do have.
Should get the Cloud Drake as well, freely on the side of Schalke. They remain in control. This Urgot here, still at the point in the game where his damage really matters in potential fights. Well, a small trade on bottom side, but Perks should not have time or mana to actually chase down Visichachi.
No, it takes such a long time, and with the Maokai passive, all the CC in his kit, and an Abyssal Mask, it would take more mana than Perks has, I think, to kill him. Regardless of that fact, Perks will catch that bottom lane, 2 dragons to Schalke, and every time they do push into G2's territory, they are extending their ward line, but currently it's not as deep as they would like it to be to either set up a siege on those inner turrets or to start making the plays around Baron.
Generally, sieging with a tank comp is pretty difficult, so it's more about forcing fights out in the open, and that's going to be the Baron they're using, obviously, to bait that fight. G2, on the other hand, once they get Rage Blade on Varus, they do have enough damage to kill a tank. There's a lot of tanks they have to kill, obviously, but if Yana can actually stay safe in the backline, he is the big carry I'm looking at. I think it's so hard for Arise against big front lines to actually deal enough damage. So you're looking instead at Varus as the main damage dealer.
And you talked about it, the fact that Chachi didn't build any armor during the laning phase, he's kind of rushed that Abyssal Mass to make it even harder for Perks. He hasn't completed the Void Staff yet, he is working towards it. He is still level 14 on the Rise, so even after the kills that were, and the pressure that was thrown towards him, he's been able to hold his own with Nukeduck, and the gold is still relatively even, which is quite impressive considering 3-0-4 is the scoreline for Nukeduck. So good stuff there from Perks, the big carry that G2 have often relied on when in dire situations.
Well, Nukeduck is currently sitting on that Adaptive Helm, Black Cleaver, starting to build a little bit more tankiness. Upset has had that rapid fire cannon, along with a Storm Razor for a little while, picked up a Vamp Scepter as well. And Schalke, they are going to successfully siege. They've got a numbers advantage thanks to Wonder and Perks pushing the top and bottom lanes respectively, but this will allow Schalke to back away.
So this is one of the win conditions that G2 have, which is, again, split apart the map. The thing they have to respect is Schalke's ability to just hard engage on the 3 members that are defending in the mid. That's why G2 are forced to concede, but now Wonder in a situation that he may get collapsed on.
Well, amazing. Hasn't gone into the bush just yet. Nukeduck will finally find him. Wonder's now got a little bit of an exit route. Going to use that blast code to get over the wall, and a very good unstoppable Onslaught cannot be disabled while in that. And nicely done. Wonder using all the tools around the jungle.
Fancy footwork there from Wonder, is able to escape, and he's able to spot out when the blue buff gets taken, so extra bonuses for him. But as well as that, everyone going to reset on the map right now. Big tower did go down in favor of G2. The towers are still 4-4, and remember, the kill score is 7-2.
And it's even in gold as well, so it's still so close. I will stop praising Wonder when he escapes with his life. I was told off for it last time. This one looked a little better.
That one was way better than the last one.
But I'm just saying he shouldn't have been in a position to get caught in the first place.
Pretty big item spikes here for G2. We already mentioned Rage Blade. It's now completed. Perks also got Void Staff on his side, so he's actually really strong on the Rise, but he needs to again burn through all these big tanks on the other side, and the Adaptive Helmet is so smart to actually avoid a lot of Rise's damage.
And Deficio, I see a righteous glory on NukeDuck. I think it's a pretty big signal of what NukeDuck and Schalke want to do with this team composition. Find a target, push a button, and catch the target.
So I'm just laughing at the fact that he called them big tanks as opposed to just tanks. You know,
No,
like,
no,
what's the
big
difference?
tanks.
What's a big tank and a big tank?
Actually, that is a good question, Deficio.
Tom Kench, he's
A little tank.
a little tank. And in this case, Jankos is a big tank. But look at Mauka, he's a big tank.
Okay, there we go.
Good to know.
I accept that scale difference. We'll get a comprehensive list from you on Twitter
There you
later. Gragas used that explosive cask in the mid lane. It pinned Hyun into a wall, but there was no further follow-up. And Schalke, for the time being, they're not playing around Baron. They're content using what feels like a strength's advantage just to push down towers.
Now, we're looking for an engage from G2 on this bottom 3.
All right, NukeDuck's going to use that disdain to get away from Wonder, who pulled that onslaught just a little
We're
short.
looking for an engage. They tried to find it.
We're
They
still
couldn't
looking.
pull it. We're still looking. The Maokai is slowly pushing up top wave. He's going to have a big wave stacked, and then G2 are going to have 2 waves that they deal with along with the TP that's available for Chachi should a fight even kick off.
Well, they're trying again to look for the fight here. Upset will get knocked up and actually took an arrow as well from Yanin.
Yeah, took a lot of damage with that arrow to the face. Forced to recall from this bottom lane, or at least back away, retreat. Vizichachi's now going to run into Perks in the top lane.
And we're still kind of waiting for Schalke to actually go Baron if they want to fully force this 5 versus 5. Right now it is just kind of them pushing towards the turret, but not really being able to siege properly. Perks is fighting top lane against Vizichachi. Rest of Schalke is pushing mid.
And I do feel we're starting to see one of the... Ooh, hang on. Here
Righteous
we go.
Righteous Glory, the quickness as well. The target is what did a quick peel. Devour catches onto Hyun, and here's the teleport coming down. Perks is looking to join the fight, and he does. Upset now making his way back up from the mid lane. NukeDuck down to 1,500 life while Gragas is down. Amazing, he's dead. But Upset is ripping apart Perks. Jankos is on the retreat. Nature's God will root them down. The Cats lock them in. But look at NukeDuck. He's already got 1. He's picked it up in a 1v2. Fear beyond death. He's using those shotgun knees to burst down Wonder.
We kept saying it, man. Schalke and all the tanks in the front. It doesn't matter if one drops. There's just not enough damage from G2 to get rid of all of them. And eventually you will die. They're still fighting here.
Big tank battle. Here we go.
Let's find out. NukeDuck is in a little bit of trouble. Decimating smash.
Oh!
We baited by the observers. NukeDuck goes down to a bigger tank in Wonder's Scion. But it's at the cost of the inhibitor.
Oh, and I was just about to criticize Schalke for playing a little too slowly, but they're able to force a fight mid. And this is all kicked off by the Righteous Glory coming out from NukeDuck. The Ace of Predator replay really highlights how the initial drop was coming down onto Yanin. The peel then comes out from Wadid. And once the front line or the Gragas drops, you think, okay, this is a big fight for G2, but then Schalke turn it around.
Exactly, like now they're trying with the next tank, because Chachi wasn't here for most of this fight, but when he joins, it's almost impossible for G2 to kill him in time, and NukeDuck steals away a kill for himself. Will then continue the fight against Wonder that basically lasted forever. But spoiler, Wonder won.
Well, we didn't see how it ended. So how did it end?
I think he ults him in the face. I actually think he kills him with the ult. Wait for it, ult, boom.
Okay, was one more bop.
Okay, that was an
a
axe
little
also.
boop after the onslaught. So 10 kills to 4. It is still only a 1,000 goal lead, but look at that team fight damage. A lot on NukeDuck and Upset.
And remember that that's not skewed by the ultimate, because that would do 9999 damage. So that's outside of all the damage that he did as well, just to kind of represent how much he offers in these extended team fights.
See now, G2 Esports, they know they have to try and fight their way back in this game here. Yanin is on 2 items, but we got to see in the last fight, he could kill Amazing.
Yeah.
He just could not kill Vizichachi
You only
once he
got
joined.
1 of the big tanks, and there was 2 more to get through.
Yes.
And now Upset sitting on that Infinity Edge as well. G2, they've started off the Baron.
They certainly have, and this is a dangerous situation. NukeDuck does have the TP, and Schalke, they want the fight.
All right, NukeDuck teleporting in from the river. Amazing's coming up as well. Nature's Grasp is thrown out. Gragas barrel splits up G2 Esports, and the Baron pit is empty. Keeper's verdict. Swing sends Vizichachi flying. It is elegant in the target selection, but they've stopped the Baron for now.
But now Schalke can be the ones to start things off. The Keeper's verdict has gone. I thought G2 may look to use it to try and kick one of the frontliners away, and then they could turn for a 5 versus 4.
Oh, G2.
Instead, now all they've done is use all their ultis
Rise
to give
up.
open a free Baron.
All right,
no one
nobody
took it.
followed the Realm Warp in, though. G2 Esports are nearby. This isn't exactly the quickest Baron-taking team. Schalke, they've got it down to 7,500. G2 are nearby. Realm Warp's on cooldown. Keeper's Verdict's on cooldown, but the quickness locks down 3. Vander goes in.
Wonder's alive.
And stays alive. Wonder's unstoppable retreat keeps him alive, and importantly, Baron resets.
EULCS did not get the ulti on Wonder right here, so he managed to get out in time. Yeah, there's a couple of minions in base. They have to go back and deal with them. Baron being started again because all these tanks are still very healthy.
And G2 Esports cannot contest this time around. Super minions on the Nexus turrets would do a lot of damage, and they concede the Baron at 30 minutes in the game. Schalke have the first significant advantage with Inhibitor and Baron.
League of Tanks, man. It's back right here. Urgot mid lane really sets it up nicely for Schalke. G2 are hoping they reach a point where Yana can actually deal enough damage to burn through them. Because Perkz, he's actually been doing really well in the game. He's done well in lane, he's got a bunch of items, but he simply cannot do enough on the rise in the pure team fights.
And Schalke, now that they're in a position to better force these fights, now that they have the Baron, being able to siege onto the base of G2 gets that much easier. They can look for a dive if they want. We've already seen how much damage they can soak up. We're working towards the 4th item for some of these Schalke members. But again, the bright side for G2 is Perkz in the mid lane.
Take a look at Nukeduck. Just use that spellbook to swap over to Flash. Got himself the Ignite as well with Baron and a gigantic minion wave up top. 2 cannons as well. They can use this Maokai to potentially zone G2 away and just go straight in for another Inhibitor turret. Let's find out if Nature's Grasp does get decided, or does get thrown down rather. Gragas Barrel just sends Perkz to the side. Optimistic, amazing.
Rise wave clear. Very quickly removes the wave there.
Baron didn't even matter there.
Oh, power of Rise, 4 items. Here comes the ultimate from Vizicachi.
Now, I was expecting this on the previous wave. Vizicachi, once again, the only target sent flying.
Ooh, is it enough damage?
He gets him!
Finds the target!
The Ignite!
Drilled to death! And the Inhibitor will fall. Now the Inhibitor is the focus. Somehow Nukeduck found his man. 2-man knockup, 4-man target. Vander with the beautiful Rakan engage sets it up for Schalke to even the series. The fight's not done yet as Wonder is sent into his passive. Good damage onto Upset, but Vander body blocks for a while. Not going to be enough to save Upset's life long enough. Realm Warp is going to deliver Perkz into the waiting hands. He's got a lot of damage to deal with. Vizicachi with Sap Magic stays alive. Minions are coming in to help out. Chachi goes golden as Perkz goes down. Mid Inhibitors the next targets.
There are no inhibitors down right now for Schalke. They're going to have to secure them before they can look to end the game. But with only Hyanan standing in their way, Schalke look to equalize the series.
Here comes Jankos. Keeper's Verdict is on cooldown. Nukeduck and the rest of Schalke decide this is not the Nexus fight to end the game. Instead, they back away. 14 kills to 6, and I love League of Tank fights.
I love the fact that it's Nukeduck who sets up the whole thing at first, when he has Ignite right now that he can actually use onto Jankos. If you see the combo, he ultimate ignites him, and it just gets him down below 25%, so he gets pulled back, and he dies. Nothing you can do to save him. They will get the turret, they force the rest of G2 back, and I thought they were done right here, but because double Nexus turret is still hitting them, and Perkz managed to get a bunch of damage onto them, G2 managed to stay alive for now.
Yeah, a lot of credit to Perkz here, because look at the position of Upset. He gets rooted up and almost blown up, and if it wasn't for Vander giving away his life, he would have died faster, but he ended up dying anyway. Yeah. So good job from Perkz. And then note how long Perkz survives. There's one shield, right? There's the second shield. There's the third shield. He's just as tanky as Nukeduck is.
Look at that, Urgot! Oh my god. Running in with Righteous Glory. That was fantastic. Nature's Grasp is going to get thrown out, and I think that was Upset. No, it was Vander that was kicked back.
Wait,
a lot of damage. Nukeduck is going to be running for his life as Gragas and Vizicachi are down.
Oh, Schalke getting so confident right now. They get 1 kill on the support, and then Chachi alone rushes into 4 people. Eventually, you're going to die as a tank, and Amazing followed suit.
And you really have to respect how much damage Rise does at this point in the game. Like, he just got melted. So the TP flank comes in. Wonder uses his ultimate to get out of that situation, and ends up being a 4v1 versus a 4v1. And with an AD carry and the Rise, they have enough chain CC to be able to lock him down. And then Vander wants to engage, gets knocked back, but Schalke continue to commit in a 3 versus 5.
Yeah, Schalke is not really over-committed to too many fights in this game. They've kind of known exactly when they could actually go back, even re-engage if they've lost a member. This one, however, a little bit too aggressive with the teleport from Chachi. Buys a bit of time for G2, and Hyanan right now, on his way towards a 4th item. He really is the big win condition together with Perks when it comes to just getting through the big front line. And I like the build from Perks, just trying to maximize AP. Once he hit Death Cap, he's going to hit some insane numbers.
Yep. Now you can see the gold drop there in the last couple of minutes from Schalke just because of these last two fights that they've actually been losing. The shutdown gold that goes in the pockets of
they're
G2
catching him.
has actually been pretty big, but now they're looking for Perks.
Yeah, let's see if they can catch him. Realm Warp will buy some time. Gets knocked up into the air. Very nicely done, Vander. I'm impressed with his Rakan play this time round. Ladies and gentlemen, when Nukeduck enters the screen, that is what a big tank looks like right now. Almost the same size as Maokai. Jankos is the first victim of the fight. Gets blown up by the shotgun knees. Now all of a sudden, Perks is running for some... What a barrel from Amazing! That's a double kill from Nukeduck. The root connects onto Wadid. Nukeduck's trying to chase down Perks. He flashes forward for that one. Continues to run him down. Needs some support. A disdain flips him over the shoulder. That's going to be the triple for Nukeduck. G2 lose 4, and Schalke are pushing into the base.
And that was the big pick that they needed. Perks, sitting in a side lane, trying to get his death gap completed, was the one that was caught out of position. That started off the fight that will allow Schalke to equalize the series.
There's no Nexus turret standing, and Wonder's got not enough tools to deal with this team. Nukeduck's back at full HP thanks to that Warmogs, and is bursting him down. The Nexus is the focus after they take down Wonder. And there goes Nexus, kill number 2. Schalke null fear, score in game 2 to even the series 1-1.
And you know, this is how we end up getting 5 games again. You see 2 different sides clashing, just like yesterday with G2 versus Splice. G2 Esports showed in game 1 when they can do well early and they have 2 strong soul laners who can then split push, they're fantastic. But when they're forced into pure team fighting in the League of Tanks, they will struggle.
And I will tell you why I think there's a really good chance of this going to 5 games. This win from Schalke did not look convincing to me. They found 2 big picks in the river onto G2, 2 crucial mistakes that, yes, they were able to punish, but that's where the thing started. But then even with a big lead, the gold stayed relatively even. On top of that, when they were at their strongest, with the Urgot having 3 items completed, they never started the Baron. They kept trying to siege and siege and siege. And I feel like that they left many windows open for G2 to stall. So I want to see a little bit more of a convincing victory from Schalke before I'm convinced that they look to be the strongest.
I'm less concerned.
We will get more opportunities to discuss this at a later date. For now, we're going to get a little more insight from the analyst desk.
Yeah, and we will discuss it for you, guys. Schalke nul fear, strike back. Well, Nukeduck tweeted that he wasn't feeling too well. He was feeling a bit ill, and his Urgot was sick. So let's take a look at some of the replays straight off the bat. We were looking at Nukeduck to put up a great performance. He pulls out another champion, and this time it's the Urgot. And the Fisher broke down at the beginning of the day how strong it is, and we see it here.
This champion just all around is just really obnoxious to play against, really obnoxious to deal with, and it does not take much to get him going is what you're seeing here. Amazing as the Runic Echoes, Vander just has base damages, but that is enough to get them to that execution threshold. And here, this fight especially was a beautiful piece of execution, but not from Nukeduck. Amazing right here. Every other part of the game, you can talk about Nukeduck, but right here, that was amazing.
Yeah, justifying his name. Honestly, what a great ultimate, and really putting in the nail in the coffin. And I think Schalke, what we saw in the games before, and we said, you know, we would have liked to see more from them. They are showing up in this game. They're playing more forward. They're taking the fights. I think Nukeduck on this Urgot looked so dominant, and this should be, going forward, a question if they want to allow this be up in the game.
Oh, absolutely. And I think where in game 1 we said, well, G2 really had a really big advantage throughout the whole game. This game was actually much more close. And this, I think, was Schalke calculated, you know, pushing their advantage wherever they could without trying to make too many mistakes, which I think is a great reset from game 1. They didn't want to go crazy. They didn't want to lose the game in 10 minutes again.
I'll say that I just still feel like it was a little bit shaky from the side of Schalke. I really like what they did in the draft. G2 kind of tried to call Schalke out, say, do you play Urgot? When they didn't ban it away, they said, look, we don't think you play it. They took it. And while Vizicachi didn't, Nukeduck did very well in the game. But there were shaky moments. You heard it on the desk. That final fight could have very well been disastrous. Amazing definitely pulled it back, but G2 were starting to come back. Rise was starting to outscale, and they can't really afford to give that kind of time to G2, because while G2, we don't consider them the best late game team, they did draft themselves a team that could have won team fights with the Varus, with the Rise.
Yeah, and they're playing very competitive in those team fights. I think right now, that's what also everybody at home is feeling, is that the game is just super tense. Like at any moment you feel like if somebody steps up from a team, makes a great play, they can start winning the team fight.
Should we revise kind of our thoughts before the game where we thought, you know what, Schalke is much better in team fights and G2 has problems executing them perfectly? I feel like I've been surprised at how good G2 have been executing the team fights in the previous game and this one without taking too much away from Schalke, who did play this game very, very beautifully.
Yeah, I still think, though, stylistically speaking, even if we see it in this game, they had a Tahm Kench, they had a Ryze. G2 actually wanted to play a little bit more for the side lanes, but they ended up team fighting more, which I think was also in the end the reason that they lost. So I would have liked them to maybe play more towards the root. And I think for Schalke, it's exactly the opposite. They are very, very comfortable in those team fights. Can they play 1-3-1? We don't really know. But I think it goes more into the comfort zone of Schalke.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's take a look at some other team fights. A couple of things that I also picked up on is we had question marks for Amazing after Sejuani and Skarner. Well, his Gragas was wonderful, and we know how hard it is to execute those ultimates when you're trying to set up a team fight. Upset does his job as well. I feel like they are in the game with their minds a lot more in game 2.
I think Vander and Amazing showing up here as well. Vizicachi with a few mistakes, but mostly being the team fighting monster that we know he can be in these exchanges. The aggressive flash forward from Upsets is a hallmark of his play style since the playoffs have started, and I really, really love to see it. Now, these last moments are a little bit awkward as Nuke Duck does go down, but I think
Why are we showing this?
the big thing is Rakan was good. That was a big question. Was the Xayah Rakan lane going to be good enough for this team? And it is. It's a threat that G2 have to consider now in the draft. That's exactly what you wanted. Vander can play it, and his engaged priority was great. He went for the Tahm Kench first to make sure they could try to get a little bit of damage down before he used the Devour. And just across the board, I think this was a leveled up Schalke that we saw in this game.
Great bounce back. And even though we say they could have finished it a little bit more convincingly, I kind of think it speaks to my confidence more in Schalke that it was so close and that they didn't lose the reins, you know, that you knew that it could be turned and that they kept their cool. I think that's two ways of looking at it, obviously.
Yeah, and I also think that G2 didn't really challenge them with split push, so they were just saying, okay, this game is going exactly like we're expecting it. We don't need to rush it. They are not really asking us any questions what we want to do over side lanes. So they were just playing out the game because they knew that in this kind of setup, they were just going to win.
I think for me, no, it's totally fine. I think there's plenty of things to be said about this game. I liked that Schalke were able to shut down a lot of the utility that Tahm Kench brought. That's kind of what we saw in this game, is because Schalke were able to get an early lead. Whereas if G2 had gotten a lead in this game, I think it would have played out very similar to the previous one, where you have Tahm Kench to put priority on side, Perkz set up that 1-3-1 as you mentioned. But Schalke needed to get a lead early on. They really had to snowball these lanes to set themselves up for success. You couldn't just put Urgot in a side lane. You're not getting that value out of him. But they were able to pull through with this strategy, able to make it work. And I think it's a good look for Schalke, but I also don't think G2 should be too scared. Now, there's a few more factors in the draft. The Urgot, the Xayah Rakan, absolutely stuff that they have to consider moving forward. But really, they did not look that bad, despite Schalke winning pretty hard in the early game.
Also, Jankos, he did exactly what he did in game 1, right? You know, it was another champion, but he also invaded once again, and he bullied around. So I think they still have the right idea. I don't think they'll be too sad about this loss particularly, especially with the experience. But, you know, they do have to revise a couple of things, you know.
I do also, if we get the same side selection, we had predictions. I want a side prediction with both of you. Does Jankos invade Red Buff the exact same way again in the third game?
And get it.
Because it worked 2 times in a row. Is it going to work a third time?
No, Wadid is going to steal it. No,
it can mix it up.
No, but this is kind of cool. You know, we always talk about how Youngbuck brings those level 1s to either G2 or to Fnatic. It's cool that G2 does that now in the early game, is trying to get an advantage in a different way than just going into the lanes. And, well, for Schalke, they need to keep going this from strength to strength. Sheepy, what do you think they absolutely need to get their hands on in this game 3?
I think this draft was really handed to them with the Xayah Rakan Urgot. You have such a strong base. You can just kind of go with whatever you're feeling. You can put the Urgot into top lane, try to match like the split push with a stronger mid laner or a top laner. Like, you can really do a lot with that. I think for the next game, G2 will try to shut that down. So for Schalke, it's even more important to see if this is going up, what side do we want to take first up? If they have side selection, I'm actually not...
Yeah, I'm listening. Maybe I get the word. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it should be Schalke's side selection, as they were the higher seed going in, so they have 1-3-5. So Schalke should get to choose, but if they're okay with this draft, they might just go back to blue side.
Exactly. And if they get the same thing, they're just saying, okay, thank you, G2. I think we were really happy with this draft. And the next one would be, I think the game was really, really close until the point where Chachi was kind of I feel like
chose
Chachi.
blue, by the way.
Oh, they chose blue.
Yeah.
Okay, this is very understandable. Also fits their color scheme, so that's really nice.
Yep.
I think that Chachi overall, Chachi overall in the series.
This is why we hired you.
Exactly.
Good sheep. Good stuff.
Sorry,
I'm seeing
derailed you. You were
connecting
talking
the
about
dots.
Chachi.
Yeah, Chachi, and I think he was falling behind. But the moments that he's just giving up lane, rotates towards mid lane, and gets those kills, I think that's where really the turning point for Schalke. And I think Chachi right now, honestly, also in these team fights, is always catching perks, catching another person, is super instrumental for how they are winning the game.
The impression that I'm getting is that we have a lot to talk about because despite G2 losing, we're seeing good things from them. And of course, we saw better things from Schalke in Game 2. I have an inkling this is going to 5 games, and it just looks like the more comfortable both teams are getting on stage, we see how close they are in level. Or do you guys think that after what you've seen, one or the other team is going to run away with the series?
I actually think it all comes down to the draft. Like
Yeah.
the evolution that we've seen both in yesterday's series and in today's series in terms of drafting, in terms of teams figuring out what the other lanes can do, because there are weak points on both these teams and there are strong points. And the G2 bottom lane has continued to show us that they can set themselves up for success. Upset and Vander are digging deeper. The Urgot is now coming out for Schalke, a pick we didn't expect, and both teams are just continually adding new variables into the mix. And I honestly think a ton is on the coaches right now to adapt in the games to come.
Love it. Stress on the coaches. We'll see what happens. This is what G2 and Schalke have been fighting for all split as they gear up for Game 3 right here in Berlin. We'll be right back for more League of Legends.
Trouble. Question is,